Meera hadn't expected to see him there. The evening was supposed to be simple, a company event at one of Seoul's most luxurious hotels. She had dressed her best, determined to blend in with the polished elites of the corporate world. But the moment she stepped inside, her eyes found him. Gumin stood at the far end of the hall, dressed in a sharp black suit, exuding the same commanding presence that made everyone take notice. But tonight, there was something different, something she couldn't ignore. Meera had no intention of chasing after him. Not tonight. So she held her head high, ignoring the way her heart pounded when their gazes met across the room. She smiled, spoke to the executives, and let herself enjoy the night. But Gumin wasn't ignoring her. She could feel it, the weight of his stare, following her every move. And when she stepped outside for fresh air, she wasn't surprised when a deep voice broke the silence behind her. "You enjoy playing with fire, don't you?" Meera turned slowly, meeting his gaze. "And what if I do, boss?" His jaw tensed. The energy between them crackled like a live wire. "You should stop." Meera stepped closer, the night air cool against her skin. "Or what?" His breath hitched, just slightly. And for the first time she saw it, his control slipping. Gumin could push her away 1,000 times. But tonight? Tonight, he wasn't walking away. The night before had been unexpected. Or at least, that's what Gumin told himself. But he could still feel Meera's warmth, still hear the softness in her voice. The way she had looked at him under the city lights, it had unraveled him. He had kissed her back. Hard, desperate. Like a man who had lost control for the first time in his life. He had drawn her close, his hands at her waist, feeling the undeniable pull between them. Meera hadn't hesitated either. Her fingers had traced through his hair, sending a fire through his veins. And then, just when things had almost crossed a line, he had forced himself to stop. Because if he didn't, there would be no turning back. The morning after, Meera walked into the office with a new determination in her eyes. Last night, Gumin had wanted her. She had felt it in the way he held her. Yet today, he sat in his office as if nothing had happened. As if he wasn't the same man who had pulled her into his arms and kissed her like she was the only thing that mattered. Fine. If he wanted to act unaffected, she would play along. But then, his assistant walked up to her desk. "The CEO wants to see you." Meera's breath paused. Gumin was standing by the window when she entered. He didn't turn around. "Close the door," he said. Meera did, folding her arms. "Are we going to pretend last night didn't happen?" Gumin finally turned, his dark eyes locking onto hers. "I don't regret anything, Meera." His voice was low, steady. "But I need you to understand something." He slid a file across the desk. "You wanted to be part of my world?" His gaze didn't waver. "Then prove that you belong here." Meera picked up the file, scanning the contents. Her eyes widened. "This is a direct assignment from you?" "It's either this," Gumin leaned forward, "or you walk away now." A challenge. A test. Meera's fingers tightened around the file. Last night, she had shown him her fire. Now he wanted to see if she could handle his. Like and subscribe to get notification when I post. Gumin had spent years building walls. Walls that kept him in control. Walls that ensured no one got too close. But Meera? She was a wildfire. And no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't put her out. The whispers had turned into headlines. Who is the mysterious woman linked to CEO Gumin? A simple intern or the woman who melted the Ice King? His family was the first to react. His mother called. "You know how this looks, Min. You've never entertained a woman publicly before, now an intern?" His father? He didn't care about romance, only the company's reputation. "You better end this before it turns into a scandal, Gumin. She's a nobody." But the worst part? The board members had started questioning his judgment. Was the cold, calculating CEO losing his edge? Had a woman finally broken his discipline? Meera's bold defiance. Meera heard the rumors, the whispers, the jealousy, the doubt. But she refused to shrink. She refused to be ashamed of what she wanted. One afternoon, a senior executive sneered at her. "Enjoy your time here, little intern. The CEO gets bored fast. Meera? She laughed. She stepped closer, tilting her head. Then why is he still looking at me? Because even when Gu-min avoided her, his eyes always found her. Even in a crowded room, he was watching. And when they finally crossed paths in the hallway, she didn't hesitate. She challenged him with a smile. I heard they're worried about me distracting you, boss. Gu-min's jaw tightened. They should be. Why? She stepped closer, her voice steady. Because you can't stop thinking about me? His hands curled into fists. Because she was right. Gu-min tried to stop it. Tried to ignore her. Tried to push her away. But no matter what he did, Meera kept coming back, fierce, unshaken, and completely irresistible. And the worst part? He didn't want her to stop. When it came to her, that control was slipping. Meera was bold, confident, and completely unapologetic about what she wanted. Him. And that was dangerous. The world is watching. The whispers weren't just within the company anymore. The media had caught on. CEO Gu-min's secret romance? Mystery woman spotted leaving his office late at night. The board wasn't happy. His competitors were watching. And his family? His father's voice was cold over the phone. You need to put an end to this, Min. This girl is a problem. But Gu-min wasn't sure who the real problem was anymore, Meera or the fact that he couldn't let her go. Meera's unshaken confidence. Most women in her position would have backed down by now. But Meera wasn't most women. If the world wanted to watch, she'd let them. She wasn't ashamed of wanting him. And when one of the female executives pulled her aside, warning her that she was playing a dangerous game, Meera just smiled. Then I guess I'll have to win. Gu-min should have hated her confidence. But instead, it only pulled him in deeper. The breaking point. That night, Meera found herself alone with him. She wasn't afraid. She met his gaze, stepping closer. You keep acting like this is something you don't want. He clenched his jaw. It's not about what I want. Her voice softened. Then tell me to stop. Silence. A tense, heavy, charged silence. And then he kissed her. Hard. Desperate. Like a man finally giving in to the one thing he'd been trying to resist. And just like that, Meera knew this wasn't just dangerous. This was a war he couldn't win.